Hello, I'm Craig Griffin, and welcome to another edition of the campaign for Real Qual. And with me today, I'm pleased to welcome Sharmila Das, who will be talking about her sandwich method, a blueprint for researchers wishing to integrate AI into their workflow. Sharmila is the founder and chairwoman of Purple Audacity, a method neutral insights and strategy organization. She has more than 40 years experience in market research and still going strong. In 2023, she was honored as one of 75 global insight legends in recognition of her contribution to market research and insights in India by SMR and Insight 250. A very warm welcome, Shamila.
Thank you so much, Craig. Thank you. And it's wonderful to be on this platform with you.
Yes, I'm delighted to have some time with you today. So, we recently published your sandwich method as part of the campaign, and I thought it was really wonderful. For listeners who may not have had time to read that yet, could you please let's start. Perhaps you could share what is your sandwich method in a nutshell, and what problem or need is it addressing?
Okay. So thank you, Craig. And I think that's a great starting point. Um, so often, so many of us actually find researchers asking AI, questions like, so what do consumers want? Okay. And then AI also very promptly gives them answers. And then they accept it basically by treating AI like a magic wand
Mm.
or treating AI like maybe Google on steroids. So, so that's what they do. But the problem is that the AI really doesn't know your market.
Mm.
The AI doesn't know your customers. The AI doesn't know the business challenges that you are, facing. And therefore, it ends up giving you very textbook answers, good answers, very good to read answers, but very generic one.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that is where the sandwich method actually comes in. It's fairly simple because if you think of making a sandwich, you have two pieces of bread and then you have the filling inside.
Yes.
Now, I have actually used the analogy of sandwich method, and it also I was inspired by my colleague, Dr. Meghna Datta Roy, who actually used this particular, reference when I was telling her about my approach to using AI. And so thanks, Meghna, for, giving me this, term. The bottom slice is HI, which is human intelligence.
Mm.
The upper slice is also human intelligence. And in between comes the role of AI. But hey, you don't really just put a filling into a sandwich and be done with it, right? You
Mm.
will test it. You will, add maybe a few more ingredients to it, and you will then maybe do certain processes to make the filling even better. That is exactly what you do in sandwich method. So if the bottom slice of human insight is starting by setting the context, starting by asking a good question, not starting by saying, tell me about consumers, but being very specific
Mm.
that, tell me, why do parents, working parents in metropolitan cities of India are so worried about giving breakfast to their children? It
Mm.
is laying down the context. It is not just a very short, lazy question which is being thrown to the AI.
Mm.
And then the filling is where the AI starts working, but you don't stop at the first answer that you are getting.
Mm.
Just like you will improvise on the filling of your sandwich, you keep pushing What else? What about price? What are you missing? Give me three different answers, three different angles, or maybe something more. But you keep doing it at least, 7 or 8 times is the minimum
Mm,
that I have actually arrived at. It could be a little different for others, but please do not stop at one, two, three. No, you are getting a lot of good read answers, but they are in all probability not really insightful.
mm,
And then comes the top side slice, which is also again human intelligence because AI has done its work. But what I said at the very beginning, it doesn't know your culture, it doesn't understand what is happening real time. And those are the things that you have to then add from your own brain, your experience, your common sense. You make it real what the AI has given you.
mm, mm,
So that is the big problem that sandwich method actually solves.
mm, mm,
Because very often, all human beings and researchers also, because they are also human beings, they are a little lazy
mm.
in asking the question.
Yes. Mm. Yeah, yeah.
And then they take the first answer as the gospel truth.
Mm, mm, mm,
That is the, big problem that sandwich method actually solves.
mm, mm, mm. Okay, yeah. That yes, thanks for summarizing the approach. Just a couple of points. I think first of all, what a wonderful metaphor, the sandwich. Because I think previous discourses using terms like augmentation and but isn't it nice just to use such a nice simple metaphor like a sandwich that everyone can kind of relate to. And I think you've touched on something I've read from quite a few people recently about this sort of iterative approach with AI and the sort of back and forth. And actually, the best way to to work with AI is how it's designed to be worked with, sort of in a sort of conversational approach, which is what really you're describing with the back and forth with at least seven or eight different iterations. So that very much I think fits in with what I'm hearing from other people in the best way to to work with AI. So you're
Absolutely. Ray has been talking about it. Ray Pointer has
yes,
been
yes,
actually, talking about how it is so important to ask the correct questions and not one question, but just follow-up questions and then challenging the AI.
that's right. I've read Ray sort of mentioned this as well, and that's one of the people
Yeah.
I was thinking of when you described this
Mm.
approach. So your model keeps humans as the bread on either side of the AI filling. Which parts of the insight journey stay unautomatable and therefore uniquely human, do you feel?
Great question, Craig. Um, so let me try, unpacking this one. The first thing is that the AI really doesn't have the capability of reading the room. What do I mean by it? In a focus group discussion, if after a question there is a silence,
Mm,
the AI is not going to read that silence or interpret it for you. Okay, that is something which only a human being can do. Okay, secondly, AI may not know the local reality because the hallucination that we keep hearing about for AI that sometimes becomes just too strong, and therefore there are like generic interpretations which come in. For example, the AI may end up telling you Indians prefer online shopping. Yes, of course, India is such a large country, and if you look at the online shopping figures, then you will, you know, somebody can say, but then you, because you are in India, you know that in smaller towns, in, peri-urban areas, people still want to visit the shops and they are still not very comfortable
mm,
with online shopping. So if the AI is telling you something, who does the sanity check? Who does that very mindful editing? It is only human beings who can do that.
mm, mm,
Then connecting unrelated things, because you have that cultural perspective, because you know the consumers as people, uh, may not come from AI. So there could be two very different kind of, sentences or bullet points that AI gives you. I'm doing something with Gen Z, and I have, fed some of the raw data to AI, and the AI gives me two different distinct insights that, young people are price sensitive. That is one, and two, young people love convenience.
mm,
But the AI is not going to tell me that young people want convenience, but only when they can afford the price
mm.
of that convenience.
Yes.
Okay. You know that because you have interacted with young people in your, place. So that is another thing. And then somebody used this word and I loved it. They said AI can't smell nonsense. You as human being have that capacity to smell nonsense and tell the, identify it as nonsense. Yeah. So therefore, there could be those very strange, nonsensical, kind of interpretation that AI gives you. And if you are not being mindful, once again, you are going to really, go under the bus, so to say. Uh, Understanding the emotions behind the words that have been used, using raw data, using transcripts to arrive at, what would have been the underlying emotions is fairly difficult for the AI, especially if the cultural context of, say, a mother living in a high-rise building in a metropolitan city, gated community versus a mother in a rural, village, still living in a home which is still not fully constructed. They both may say the same, words and,
Mm,
sentences in terms of child care, but will the emotions be same? What are going to be the underlying tensions? What are going to be the challenges that each of them might be facing? You will know that AI is not likely to know that. So
mm.
these are some of the points, Craig, where I really think that, because AI, I always tell my young colleagues that please treat AI as your assistant,
Yes. Yeah.
who is a great assistant, very smart assistant,
Mm,
but who might be clueless about actual real people.
mm,
Great with data, and is going to do a lot of your, grunt work for you. But please treat AI as your assistant and not this magic that is going to just, transform the data into insights.
yes. I think Shamili, you touched on a lot of the core aspects of what makes qualitative research, the real art and science of sense making. And this is something that's come up a lot, I think, in the conversations I've had, that actually as researchers we're using pretty much all our senses. In fact, I had a guest a few weeks ago, Sammy Wong, who gave an example of using a sense that I've never heard before, and that was the sense of smell. She interviewed someone who was talking about cleanliness, and through her sense of smell, there was a disconnect between what they were
Yes,
what they were
yeah.
actually saying and what she was experiencing.
Mhm.
And also, I mean, I think our intuition, as researchers, because we can be sat there with someone or in a group setting, and we can get a strong felt sense of what's really going on, and that might be different from someone sat in the back room or reading a transcript. And sometimes it's not, always easy for us to articulate where this intuition is coming from, but it's very real. And I think the very best qualitative researchers I've worked with have that strong sense of intuition and have a strong felt sense of what's really going on, with someone, from what they're saying, from how they're saying it, from the silences, from the pauses, from the contradiction of what they're saying now to what they said 20 minutes ago. All of these, kind of things really are seem to be fairly uniquely human. And I'm always of the view of being open-minded. Let's see how AI evolves and how good the language models become and how good these research tech solutions become.
Yes,
It does seem to be this whole sphere, which is uniquely human, which is a lot of what we've always done, sort of as qualitative researchers. So I think that is hopefully of some comfort to those those of us that have some fear and uncertainty about AI. Um,
absolutely. And great point, Craig, because intuition, empathy, curiosity,
hmm,
these are traits which are probably, not going to be replaced by AI. So some of it might get complemented and
yes.
supported, but the genesis of that still remains uh, with the
Mm,
human being.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And that brings me nicely to my next question. Now, a lot of the discourse about AI and a lot of the way that AI solutions, research tech solutions have been presented is naturally about efficiency, costs.
Yes.
So, very much positioned in a certain way. And I think for me personally in the campaign for Real Qual, whilst not ignoring those benefits, I've been more interested in um, how AI can make us actually do what we do, make it better, maybe bring something to the table that we haven't had access to before. And I see that this is something also that comes through in your sandwich method. You've taken a different approach by focusing on quality. So my question is, it's very clear that you're focused on quality in your sandwich method. Do you also see AI as an efficiency tool as well, or just is your main focus on AI as a quality tool?
Yeah. Honestly, this obsession with speed is really, really, ruining many things.
Mm,
So, so yes, if sandwich method is actually focusing on how to use AI. AI has a synonym, and that is speed. Okay. So therefore, efficiency, speed are definitely there, but they are not the starting point for
mm,
the sandwich method.
mm,
Because at the end, if efficiency means that in 2 minutes I'm going to get an answer to this, and in 3 minutes I'm going to pass it on to the client, because it reads well and it uses a very very professional looking language. So therefore I will just give it to the client. That is garbage that you are giving,
mm, mm,
because you have not used the resource which was available to you which is AI. AI is the resource. Okay. So to get to the insight, you have to work with the AI. You have to first make friends with the AI rather than, treating it as, again, that, super efficient assistant who will just give you something which you can pass on. No, it is to make friends with the AI, you have to understand what kind of probes you have to give to the AI. You have to know what kind of challenges you have to pose to the AI. You have to know that once you have actually got an output from the AI, you need to use your human intelligence to, add, delete, modify the content, and then maybe again, go back to the AI to sharpen it, add certain things to it, add a framework which you might have missed, but then come back again. So there is a lot of toing and froing which is involved in the sandwich method. And so therefore it is not promising to provide everything in a jiffy, but the premise is that for AI and HI to work together and to really enhance and elevate quality, this method will make you reach there.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, efficiency is, I will say, a bonus of this entire, or it's a, it's a like side kind of a dish which you are getting with the use of sandwich method, but the focus is quality.
Mm-hmm. And you've mentioned, Sharmila, that already that in theory you could write even a well-crafted question and get some kind of output from AI, and it may sound, very good, and perhaps for less experienced researchers, they could kind of run with that, and there's a real danger to that. Um, and in your paper, you've outlined, some of the other shortcuts and bad practices. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit more on those kind of bad practices that researchers should avoid?
Yes. So these are like, should I call them bad practices, or they are just mistakes which happen, which I see every day? The first one you have already talked about, Craig, that the first one is definitely one of the most important ones, and that is the lazy question.
Mm,
Okay. So the lazy question will get you a lazy answer, and you are not going to really be specific in that. The second big mistake is taking the first answer and accepting it.
mm,
Okay. So it's a nicely done answer, but then if you have an assistant, you have a junior researcher, and the junior researcher also gives you a very nicely done presentation, are you immediately going to send it to the client? You never do that, right? You never do that. So why will you do that with the AI?
mm,
So therefore, that is mistake number two. Mistake number three, often forgetting that AI could be working with old data. If I am, trying to compare what I have got from the raw data that I have versus, in the meta verse, what
yes.
is happening.
Yeah.
That's a big mistake because AI could be working with old data. Post COVID, life has changed. The entire, shift that has happened everywhere else, that has changed many things. So therefore, using that reality check is a must. Then something that all of us have faced with AI, which is the robotic language the AI uses. Okay. Uh, getting very impressed with that language and then passing it on actually means that you are like a sitting duck, because most people have now started recognizing the
Mm,
kind of language that AI, actually speaks. Then reality check, I've already said, because then there are, those grand words that AI sometimes uses, grand sentences. Premium products are popular. What do you mean by that?
yes.
What is premium to one cohort may not be premium to another cohort, and which might be considered super premium in another cohort. Therefore, going by these very generic things is another, mistake. And no guardrails,
Mm,
not having any discipline, any mindfulness while using AI. It
mm,
is a soft skill I'm talking about, but then it goes a long way in adding to a huge mistake that you have made in your output.
mm,
And therefore, coming to the big one, trust without verification, blind trust.
mm,
That I have given all my instructions. I have told AI to stay within the raw data that I have given. I have told AI to not use this kind of a tonality. I have done everything. And therefore, whatever comes out, now I can blindly trust it.
mm, mm.
That is one more, mistake.
Yeah.
Therefore, if the AI answer sounds very convenient, it is probably incomplete.
Mm, mm,
One needs to keep digging.
mm.
That is the mantra that I try to follow too, and that is what I would like to share with all the listeners.
Yeah, I think that's a very comprehensive list, Sharmila. Just t touching on a couple of points there. I think you certainly can't go on LinkedIn today without seeing 20 posts about spotting AI kind of language. And, there's a lot of people writing about this and complaining about people using AI for any kind of content. So I think this is a very real issue that, particularly for agency owners and leaders wanting to maintain their own brand and their own positioning in the market. In the pre-AI world, we had house style and a way of communicating our learnings that was kind of uniquely yours. Actually, one of my other guests, Dave McCocken, is very passionate about this topic and writes and speaks about it, and he calls it original voice.
Mm,
And I think that is going to be. I think we're going to see in research this probably happen more and more, where people more focused on how to keep the originality of their unique way of expressing kind of research studies. But I completely agree with the guardrails and this kind of blind trust. I mean, we need to, whatever kind of AI solutions we do, we ultimately should be able to trace that back some way to something that happened or something that was said or the way it was said or something. And pretty much we've all experienced hallucinations and
mm,
all the time this can still happen. AI does hallucinate. It's a very real thing. It makes things up. And there's a real danger that without these kind of guardrails that something is presented that ultimately a client may challenge and it is really going to doubt the whole integrity of the research. So I think those are wonderful kind of tips. Our time together is almost coming to an end, Shamila. I could chat. I've got so many questions I'd like to ask you. Maybe I'll have to invite you back to continue this, but I just want to um, ask you this final question, which is if you could spark one industry-wide change in how AI is woven into qualitative research in the next, say, year, what shift would you like to champion, and what would success look like, do you think?
um, that one thought which I wish everybody in the industry follows is about stopping the use of AI as a shortcut.
Mm,
Start using AI as a thinking partner, and I cannot overemphasize on the word partner. AI is a partner, it is not a replacement for you, neither is it a shortcut. So therefore, at the moment, people are using AI to avoid thinking sometimes.
mm,
That is the sense that I get. They want AI to do their job for them. What I want to see is that they are using AI to think deeper and
yes.
not only faster. That they are, using what is there, and it is such a wonderful resource. It really, gives you three different frameworks and a critique of the three frameworks and the suitability of each of them with the problem that you are trying to solve. And then you use your own intelligence, your experience to actually, start sharpening the framework that you think
Mm,
works best for you, and then you challenge it also, and then you keep digging deeper till you have something which is really great. So
mm.
that is one change, definitely great, that I wish
Yeah.
happens.
Well, I
Yeah.
think we're very aligned on that. I've always tried to look at it through, okay, how can I use AI to actually improve what I'm doing? And I think actually in the previous guest, Susan Bell, we talked a little bit about all the frameworks that are available to us from the social sciences. My educational background includes social anthropology, and Sue had reminded me in her work of this concept called liminality, which is a really interesting concept. And also, after my conversation with her, I was left thinking, God, there's so many frameworks that were part of my educational background that I've either forgotten about or just really haven't used in my work, and so I really want to try to find the time to go back to that, because that's what AI can give you. You've got a cut of maybe a first cut of data. Now let's look at this through a different lens. Let's look at this through the lens of liminality. Let's look at this through the lens of jobs to be done, or whatever it may be. And I think this fits nicely with your iterative approach of, okay, let's look at it through a different lens and as a thinking partner, because you look at it through a different lens, it might just give you an idea that you haven't thought about. But
Yes.
ultimately, we're the ones that choose whether that idea makes sense, whether it adds to our thinking, whether it presents what we're learning in a different way, which commercially is going to make sense to the client. So I think we're very much aligned with our
Thank
wish for how
you.
practitioners are using AI.
Yes.
So that's a wrap for today. Sadly, we're out of time. Shimala, a big
It was
thank you
wonderful.
for joining. Once again, I'm delighted that people such as yourself, who've been practicing research for so long, are attracted to the campaign and are willing to contribute. So I really do appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Craig. Uh, and a big hurrah for campaign for Real Call, because it's a great platform and it is bringing so many of us at the same platform, so many of us who have not known about each other. So
Yeah.
it is really opening that up.
Yes, I feel the community side of what we're doing, and in this stage now, I really wanted it to be not about me sharing my ideas, but actually about all of you out there in the global community sharing their ideas. So this is wonderful. And with that in mind, for anyone still listening, I hope, if there's any topics that you would like to talk about or feel we should be discussing about the state of qualitative research in 2025, if you want to join the conversation, please let me know. We're always looking for guest contributions. So with that, we'll close today. Thank you again, Sharmila, and we see everyone in the next episode.
Thank you.